going on? Well, thanks for tuning in once again. Let's talk cruiserweight boxing. Let's talk about this big fight tomorrow, midweek, between David Nyika and Opetaia. What a treat to the start of the year. What a treat to the start of the year. Thanks for tuning in. Happy New Year, to everyone that's subscribed or everyone that's, tuning in today. Hope you had a great holiday. Let's talk boxing. David, he's an interesting fighter. He hasn't really fought the competition that Jai has, and you haven't seen him go to the 6th round mark. He only has 5 rounders for some reason. This is a huge, jump up. This is a huge challenge for him, and not only the rounds, the opponent. Opetaia is one of those fighters that makes you tired because of the way that he boxes. He continuously bounces around. Think Usyk. Usyk always, second half of the fight, he always seems to have more than the other opponent, more stamina. It's because of the way that he's fighting. Jai bounces around a lot, comes in and out of the pocket, and he's always, moving with that right hand. The right hand's always moving, just like Usyk. You always see Usyk moving that right hand, that lead hand, the jab hand, you could call it, and it's a very hard style, it's a very hard style to keep up with. And David, we haven't seen him go past 5 rounds, so it's a really hard fight for him. It's a really hard fight for him, because you got to understand that Opetaia, he's gone the distance with Briedis. Briedis is a guy that punches really hard. He's a guy that's been up to heavyweight and knocked out a heavyweight. That's the sort of power that he has, Briedis. Does David have that sort of power? I believe that he does. I believe that he does have that power. All of David's fights have been by knockout except for one. So it's a really interesting one, because they've also sparred each other, so they know each other. They sort of know each other's styles, you could say. And Jai's been saying throughout this week that, hey, it's different with the smaller gloves. So I'm thinking that maybe in the sparring session you couldn't really hurt David like you wanted to. That's what I'm thinking. So how is this fight going to play out? David's a guy that, he relies on his power. He relies on sitting down on his punches, and it's hard to do that with Jai's style. Maybe he could have done that with the sparring, because maybe Jai's punches wasn't as hard, you could say. And Jai's got a punch of his own. He's got a punch of his own, and he is right. It is a lot of gloves. It is heavier gloves, you could say. Heavier punches. I'll just say that. Less ounces. So if Jai continues to bounce around and go in and out of the pocket, pop the jab, pop the straight left like he does, it's really hard to see David beating him, because what's going to happen when they get to round 6? What's going to happen when they get to round 7? If they get to round 7, I should say. If the fight goes past 6, there's a possibility that David does catch him. But it's not about just catching him. Like I mentioned, Briedis, his power is heavy. He's heavy-handed in both hands. The thing with Briedis is that when he hurt Jai, he went up to Jai, he closed the gap. This is the key for David, is to try to lead power shots. You know, you can't afford to try to box the guy, you know, and let's see who can get the most jabs. Let's see, you know, this is not a 5-round fight. You know, he's got to hurt him early. He has to hurt him early to slow him down and to find the way to close the gap, you know. Think Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk, you know. Fury couldn't close the gap, you know. That's why he was unsuccessful in the rematch. You know, he put on the weight, but he didn't really figure out how to come forward against Usyk in the first fight. You know, because of Usyk's style, the way that he bounces around and moves and things like that, you know, it's hard to close the gap with a guy like that, you know, when you're depending on power. So, and I mean, Fury, you know, he had, 24 rounds to do it, he couldn't. So, I mean, David, he needs a knockout to win, in my opinion. I do not see him outboxing Jai Opetaia. You know, Opetaia is too crafty, far too crafty. So, in my opinion, you know, I think that he should maybe go for a lead hook. A lead hook, you know, he's got the more reach, try to catch Opetaia going back. You know, Opetaia likes to come in and out of the pocket, so I mean, when he's going backwards, try to land the wide shot around that jab, you know, try to catch him and then go after him. He's got to go after him if he hurts him, if he hits him. You know, Jai's got a good poker face. He can't afford to allow Jai to reset, to get back into his rhythm, bouncing around. You know, he's going to just plain out box him. So David, he likes to sit down on his punches. It's hard to do that with Jai's style because he's always moving around, always bouncing around on the balls of his feet, you know. So it's hard to time him. You know, he's quicker than David as well. So he's got to catch him, you know, catch him at the right time. And when if he does catch him, he's got to go for it. You know, he's got to change it into a fight where he knows how to tie up Jai. You know, he knows how to close the distance if he needs to. You know, he's got to understand I might get tired in this fight. I need to figure out how I'm gonna tie this guy up. You know, what shot am I gonna throw? What shot am I gonna throw so that I can, you know, hold him if I need to? You know, it's a lot to try to figure out, you know, within just 12 rounds, you know, one fight. To try to time Jai because he's so good at what he does. You know, it's hard to get him where you want him, sort of thing. You know, so I mean, let's just face it. You know, what happened with the Fury and Jai sparring? You know, why did Jai leave so early? You know, was Jai troubling Fury? You know, I'm not really worried about Jai fighting the taller fighter at all. In my opinion, you know, the shorter guys that can box well have the advantage against the taller guys because, you know, Opetaia moves better, boxes better than David. So he's got more of a advantage because he can, you know, hit him and David may not see it coming. You know, a lot of the times fighters, they look at the waist, they look at the arms, you know, to see where the punch is coming. It's hard to see under your chin is what I'm trying to say, you know. So I mean, I just think that Jai's just, you know, too good at what he does. I do think that it is going to be a stoppage or a knockout, and I think that David's going to gas out. You know, I really do. I think that he's going to get taken to a place where he's never been. And I don't think he's going to be able to keep up with Jai. Like I say, his only chance is to hurt him early, knock him out. You know, that's just my opinion. Figure out a way how he's going to close the gap. And he really needs to hit Jai, you know, sitting down on his punch. You know, using his body, throwing something really hard. You know, that's going to hurt him so that he can go after him. So, I mean, David's good at what he does, don't get me wrong. He also likes to fight inside the pocket, he can tighten up the shots, he can throw at short distance, but Jai moving around all the time, I just think that he's too crafty, too more experienced than David. It's a great fight, I'm definitely looking forward to it. It makes it more interesting because they do know each other's styles. But I think in this situation, I'm choosing Jai to win by late stoppage, round 8. Round 8, knockout, Jai, Opetaia, that's my take. Leave yours. Obviously, tune into the fight, enjoy the fight, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.